plant friends, welcome back. So in this episode we'll be talking about vining monsteras. Do you love monsteras and just trying to add more and more to your collection? Or do you love vining vines that vine on stuff? Well, if you're this group or ambidextrogroupus, stay tuned. So I have with me 4 vines or 4 types of vining monsteras that I want to share. I absolutely love vining plants in general, and if they're monsteras and easy to care for, that's even better. So I love the plants that I'm going to share, and I highly recommend them. So let's start. We're gonna start with this one over here, and so the first plant we're going to talk about is the Monstera Adansonii. This is probably the most commonly available of the vining monsteras that I have. I've actually had this guy for quite a while, and when I got him, the seller warned me, "Are you sure? One of the stems is going through one of the leaves." And actually that was a selling point for me. I enjoyed the quirkiness of this plant. Probably not the brightest plant on the block, but it's great. I have a much larger one that's hanging on my kitchen vent. I have a few things hanging on my kitchen vent. I have a very small living space, so I really try to be creative and maximize all of the light that I can get. I hang some plants up there. I really like the look of it. So the one on my kitchen vent as well as this one in the pot, they're both the narrow vining form. I don't have the wide form, which seems to be more common in some areas of the country. I'm going to show some clips and share some clips of these vining plants that some of my other friends have. This big guy, I am not going to personally pick up. Okay, actually, never mind. I'm gonna pick up anyway. I love him so much. This variety or type is the Laniata, and absolutely love him. I love that the leaves get so big. I love how many holes or fenestrations there are. And you know, it makes me feel like I'm living in a jungle, right? It really gives off this jungle vibe, this prehistoric dinosaur-y vibe. So I really like the Laniata. I snatch up every single good specimen I can get. So this one is also an Adansonii Laniata. This one has lots of imperfect leaves. It seems like for these smaller specimens, or at least, you know, when they have leaves but their trunk or their main stems are not as robust, it seems like when they get new shoots, they often sacrifice a leaf or two. I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to cut the leaves that are dying, I've just been leaving them there. But eventually they do die, and I think that the plant diverts the energy into the new shoots. Like I said, I absolutely love the Laniata variety of Adansonii. So the next one I will share is the Monstera Stanliana. The specimens that I have are not the prettiest. When you're looking for Stanliana, you'll see that there's generally like 3 types that you can buy. One is just the regular Stanliana, so all the leaves are just pure green. And then there are the yellow and white variegations. I don't have the white one. I actually have one on the way, but not in time to make this episode. As you can see, this one is a good trailer. Some of the leaves are coming in, and I'm hoping that more leaves will pop up along the nodes over time. If you don't like this much vine, you can cut in between the nodes and propagate them. But I actually specifically bought this guy because I like the vines. The longer the better. So this specimen, also a variegated Standleyana, very, very well variegated. It doesn't mean that all the, all or a lot of the future leaves are going to be half moons, but it should be a good predictive measure of how variegated the next few leaves are going to be. So I expect this plant to keep its high level of variegation going forward. I've had this guy for a while, and he's coming back from root rot. He was fighting that for a while. I wasn't sure if he would actually pull through, but I'm glad he did. There are definitely areas black where the root rot affected him. These vining monsteras are very robust and very resilient, so they really, really want to survive. So all you gotta do is give them, a good supportive a nudge, and they'll get there and they'll do well for you. Next plant that we're going to share is the Monstera Peru. I have a lot of Monstera Peru at my place. I would say, if you're on the spectrum of rare tropical plants, these are probably on the very common side. I absolutely love them. And the reason is that their leaves are amazing. The texture, I remember seeing these on pictures on Google, and I was like, it's okay. And then I remember getting my first one, and wow, the texture of the leaves, very hard to capture. And I think it's very hard to fully appreciate unless you see them and feel them in person. But that's, I think you can say that about most most plants, right? Besides the leaves, the way the light shines on them, as well as their texture, they're very hard to kill, very robust, very fast growers. They don't demand a lot of humidity or even light, I don't think. I sort of just water this guy once a week and then ignore him, and he just continues to do his thing. I would recommend getting this guy either as a short specimen or as a cutting, on the cheap side, because they grow so well and they survive so well. I sort of just hang him like this on one of my top shelves, and yeah, he does really well. It gives my room a very Jurassic jungle vibe, and I love it. I absolutely love him. These next two are variegated Perus. Compared to the regular Peru, these are extremely slow growers for me. I know that there's been a lot of talk in the plant community these days about artificially induced variegation. I have had these plants for a while, but I haven't had enough experience with new growth, or enough new growth, that I can confidently say whether or not this variegation is persistent, or or it has a tendency to revert. I don't know if it's chemically induced originally or not. I don't want to spread that around. I think it's probably safe to think that it's natural and not chemically induced, because we have a lot of examples of variegated monsteras. Obviously the variegated Monstera deliciosa. We have the variegated Adansonii.
Variegated Adansonii. Variegated Adansonii.
The variegated Stanliana. So I think there are enough examples to think that the variegated Peru is real. But I'll keep growing them, and I will, find out, and we can all cross our fingers. So this next plant is great. I love this guy so much. I bought him as cuttings, and he has done great. So this is a Monstera Siltepecana. Definitely not how you're supposed to pronounce it, I'm sure. But yes, the Monstera Siltepecana. This guy looks great. Very good grower. Grows like a vine, like a weed. I love the way the leaves are. I love the coloration. You have some lighter green and then some bluish tint. Very, very easy to grow. So I think that's it. Those are the 4 VINING Monsteras that I feel are very accessible. They are very hardy. They're robust. They're fast growers. They can survive and do well in a very wide variety of soil conditions, or watering conditions, or humidity, or light. They're actually one of the few plants that I recommend people buy as cuttings, because they root really easily. They grow really fast, so you're gonna, the chances of whatever cuttings you buy doing really well in a relatively short time frame is very high. So highly recommend buying these as cuttings. I do have a bias towards Monsteras and also towards vining stuff that vine on stuff. So just know that, but seriously, these plants are great, and I'm sure if you ask around and anyone who has these, they will tell you that they're a pleasure to keep, and they add such a great vibe to your place. So definitely consider them if you're considering them already and just want extra nudged. So thanks for watching again, and please subscribe, like, comment, helps a lot. Till next time, plant friends.